Thanks for joining me. Welcome to the live today. We're going to be talking about building and maintaining strength at age 40 and beyond. So let me know when you join. Say hello. Let me know you're here. Maybe let me know what questions you have about today's topic, and I'm going to dive right in. So just to clarify, by ages 40 and beyond, I just mean anybody age 40 and over. So not just if you're in your 40s, but if you're in your 50s, your 60s, your 70s, your 80s, etc. and beyond. So let's start off by why is exercise important at ages 40 and beyond? So obviously, this may seem kind of like a duh answer, but I want to explain a little bit more. When I think about this, or when you think about this, I want you to ask yourself, do you want to be able to play on the floor with your grandchildren? Do you want to be able to travel solo with confidence? Do you want to be able to rack your own luggage overhead no matter how heavy it is? Do you want to be able to wrestle with your nieces and nephews and win? Do you want to be able to be an asset in an emergency situation? Do you want to be able to play golf or another sport into your 80s? Do you want to be able to cut a rug at weddings without worrying about hurting yourself? And most importantly, do you want to be able to carry in all the groceries at once? This is key. Okay, if any of those things appeal to you, then you need to exercise at age 40 and beyond, and especially do strength training at age 40 and beyond, because it is going to help you combat the muscle loss and decrease in metabolism that happens as we get older. It's going to help you maintain and increase your mobility, which is arguably even more important than maintaining a high level of strength, is just maintaining the capacity to move the way you want to move without pain and stiffness. Exercise is going to help you enhance circulation, maintain and develop your bone density, and that obviously is going to decrease as we get older if we don't do anything about it. You're going to maintain and improve your balance, another thing where if you don't use it, you lose it. You are going to be able to remain physically independent as long as possible. I think that's probably a goal for any of us, is to stay independent for as long as possible as we age, so that we're not a burden to other people and that we can feel confident that we can still enjoy our life regardless of our age. And help us, exercise helps us feel confident with whatever physical activities we choose to try. It improves mental health, and it just helps you better enjoy your life. As I showed you with some of those initial things that I asked you if you want to be able to do, exercise is really important to be able to do all those things and to feel strong and confident at any age. So, what type of exercise is best if you're age 40 or beyond? Well, first and foremost, I highly recommend resistance training, because resistance training gives you the most bang for your buck. So by resistance or strength training, it could be with weights or it could be with your body weight. So it doesn't necessarily have to be with weights, but some kind of resistance training that allows you to build that bone density and build your muscle mass, increase your metabolism. Consistency and sustainability is really more important than lifting heavy or intensely. So especially as we age and recovery gets a bit more challenging, more taxing, lifting heavy can place a little more strain than we necessarily need on the joints. And lifting light to moderate can still have a ton of benefits. You don't necessarily have to lift super heavy, but you can lift heavy if you like to lift heavy. Hi, Anza May, thanks for joining. And we want you to think about training for life. So what you can do now is what helps you maintain or gain abilities that you want to have as you get older. So as I mentioned before, if you want to be able to get on the floor and play with your grandchildren, if you want to carry in all the groceries at once, if you want to be able to rack your own luggage, what can you do now that helps you maintain or gain the ability to do that, and especially to maintain that as you get older, so you can maintain that independence and have that confidence to try physical activities as you get older. Also, the best type of exercise to do is the one that you enjoy. So if you don't enjoy resistance training, if you really dislike it, it's just not fun for you, then maybe it's not the best type of training for you. I mean, I would try to dose it in at least a little bit here and there, even if you don't like it, because the benefits are just so high. But if it's not your favorite form of exercise, there are other types of exercise that you can do that are going to give you plenty of benefit. Any type of exercise is better than no exercise, and the best type is really the one that you're going to do consistently over time, because consistency over time is where you're going to get lasting results. If your training routine is not sustainable, you're not able to stay consistent, well, you never really reap the benefits. So enjoyability is key. Josh, we're not doing any exercise today. We're doing a talk, so if you are not interested in that, then please see your way out. Okay, I'm going to have to block some people here. I don't have my moderator today, so I'm going to have to do that myself. Okay. Next up, some exercise considerations at age 40 and beyond. And these are really considerations that you should think about at any age, but it just becomes more important beyond 40. So recovery from workouts and injuries may take longer. So that's something to consider with, again, with regards to how frequently you go heavy or intense on your workouts. Maybe you don't want to do that all the time. I mean, I in general would recommend that for any age, not just over 40, because you're able to keep a more sustainable routine and be consistent if it's not too intense or too heavy that it takes you a long time to recover, you get super sore. But especially as we get older, we don't recover quite as quickly, as when we were 25 years old. So you want to keep that in mind when you choose the type of exercise you do and the frequency of exercise you do. And you want to make sure that you're reducing your risk of injury. And again, injuries can happen at any time. There's never a way to completely reduce your risk, but you can reduce the risk by, not doing things that your body is unprepared for, or not pushing your, intensity or how heavy you're lifting too frequently, so that you keep yourself in, again, like a sustainable routine. Because if you do sustain an injury, it may take longer to recover from. Oh, thanks for letting me know, Kelly, on the mic. I might be talking a little bit too loud. I'll try to talk a little quieter, and let me know how that sounds. I'll get to your question in a moment, Logan. So some other considerations. Building on that, you may need more rest days as you get older. You may need more sleep after challenging workouts, so prioritizing your sleep is important. And it's important to think about working with your limitations rather than against them. And by limitations, I mean, we all have some wear and tear on our body by age 40. So we want to think about how can we respect what our body has been through and not limit ourselves, but how can we consider how to be kinder to our body and take those things into account rather than trying to force our way through them. It's important to focus on what you can do. So if there's certain things that are limited to you due to an injury or, things that you aren't able to do, focus on what you can do. There's plenty of things you can do, even if there are some limitations that you have. And don't limit yourself, because at any age you can get stronger, you can get fitter, you can do amazing things, and be sure that you're training smart, because again, as we get older, it's important to train smart so that we avoid those injuries and we give ourselves the recovery that our bodies need. In general, I wouldn't recommend high impact or high intensity types of exercise because they're likely to be unsustainable. A lot of people like doing HIIT training, like high intensity interval training. It's not something that I would recommend. I think there's better ways to get fit. Again, if you absolutely love HIIT and that's the thing that you want to do, I'm not going to tell you don't do it, because I think you should do the type you enjoy. And I would highly recommend being cautious with the frequency and of doing that, and make sure that you're checking in with your body and seeing if that's really realistic for you to continue long term, because that's when you're going to see the best benefits, is when you're sustainable, when your routine's sustainable over a long period of time. Okay, so Logan O had a question here. What are your thoughts on bulking and cutting? My thoughts are, I don't think you need to do either of those things if your goal is general health. If you're a bodybuilder, that's something that they do is they bulk and then cut. I do think that if you want to build muscle, maybe you would call that, you have to do a little bit of, like, I guess you could kind of call it bulking, but you have to make sure that you're eating enough calories and eating enough protein to build the muscle. And, that doesn't really work doing that at the same time as trying to like lose body fat. So, excuse me, it might be best to go in a period of time where you build muscle, and then if you want to lean out a little bit, you could work on, reducing your calories a little bit then and trying to cut some body fat. But I think extreme cycles of bulking and cutting are unhealthy for our bodies in the long run. So it's not something that I would recommend. Raven, I see you have a question here on the kettlebell swing. During the kettlebell swing, must the feet be flat on the floor, or like some MMA practitioner, they lift up the heels during the kettlebell swing? Well, Raven, actually both are okay. It depends on what type of kettlebell swing you're doing. If you're talking about like, let's see, let me clarify that. So if you're talking about on a swing, if you're talking about like just on a two-arm swing, like going up onto your heels, actually there are some people that do that type of swing. I believe they call it an Olympic swing. So that has benefits as well because it mimics jumping more closely. But that isn't really the type of swing I would teach most people for general fitness. I think that's more sport specific. So both of those types of swings can be correct. Okay, so we're going to continue and move on a little bit. I'm going to mention diet briefly, which is coming up here in the comments. So I think an important part of your consideration for your diet, and I'm not a nutritionist, so I don't give specific nutrition advice. I just give general ideas on like what I've done that's worked well for me. So I think getting good quality, high quality protein and getting enough of it is important. And I recommend tracking if you don't know where you're starting from. So if you're trying to get fitter and healthier, if you're trying to improve your body composition or your strength, if you don't know what you're currently eating with regards to your calories, with regards to amount of proteins, carbs, fats, I would highly recommend tracking for a few weeks and then taking a look at that and seeing, where you could make some tweaks or adjustments. Okay, so then some mindset keys to keep in mind for building and maintaining strength at age 40 and beyond. Patience. And this is another one that applies to any age and any stage of life that you're at. And it becomes even more important, I think, the older that we get. Being patient with the process, because if you're making a shift and change in your life, if you're trying to build strength, if you're returning to exercise, these things all require consistency over a long period of time. And patience is key there because we often want results to come quickly. We want to see progress in just a couple months, which is understandable because the progress helps us keep going. But it's really going to take a longer period of time of being consistent before you start to really see the fruits of your labor. You may feel the difference and notice little things initially, but I would think more on a time scale of 6 months to a year when you're going to really start to see a big difference. So again, that's where having a sustainable routine is so key, because if you can't see yourself maintaining the routine you're doing for a year, it's not the right. Sorry about that. Had a little connection problem, so hopefully we're better now. Yeah, so patience is key there. Raven has another question. For maintaining strength through old age, how many times a week must we do strength training? That really depends. There isn't a magic number. People may tell you it has to be at least this amount of time, but that's not really based on anything specific or not based on specific science. It's just based on people's maybe experience or what they've tried. So you could do strength training once a week. You could do it twice a week. You could do it 3 times a week, maybe 4. I think once you get up to 5, 6, or 7, it's going to be pretty hard to recover from. And say you are training 4 times a week, you want to consider your volume, intensity to make sure that you have enough ability to recover if you're doing 4 times a week. But it's more important that you're consistent over time. So if you just trained 1 time a week with strength training, but you were consistent with it for 6 months, a year, 2 years, you're going to see benefits from that. So it's about choosing the frequency that is sustainable for you, first and foremost, and that makes you feel the best. And that's going to take some experimentation over time. Maybe you start with 2 days a week and you see how you feel. And then if you really like it, you want to try adding another day. Maybe you add another day and you do that for a few months and you see, do you feel better? Do you feel a little bit more fatigued? Are your workouts more or less effective? So it's a bit of a trial and error process there. I don't have a specific number for you. It could be a range of different ones. And that's where, getting in tune with your body and listening to your body is key. Okay, a few more tips on the mindset portion if you're building strength at age 40 and beyond. Be your body's ally, not its enemy. I think there's many of us who have, and I have certainly done this in the past, approached changing our body or exercise or our diet like we're an enemy with our body, like our body's working against us, like we need to force our body into submission. The thing about this is if you think of any relationship that you have with a person, with an animal, with anything at all, if you force, it never really leads to a good outcome. The best outcome is when you're working together, it's win-win, it's harmonious. Okay, so think of your body as an ally, and think if you're, doing things that if you imagine doing them to somebody else, you'd be like, oh my God, I would never do that to somebody else. Why would you do it to yourself or your body? So keep that in mind and be kind, because you want a relationship that's based on mutual respect, love, appreciation, and gratitude rather than forcing, berating, punishing. That's not really going to get you to a healthy place overall. And everything in our health is connected, whether it's your physical health, your spiritual health, your emotional, your psychological health. All those things are connected. So you want to approach your exercise routine and your nutrition as a loving, harmonious thing rather than something where you're trying to force your body into submission. Then the next step would be no forcing leads to setbacks and injuries, right? So this is especially with regards to if you're doing a workout and you're forcing yourself to go beyond your limits much further than your body wants you to go, or you're feeling some pain and you're pushing yourself into that pain or through that pain. Anytime you force that, it might feel good for a moment because you were able to do it in the workout, but you're usually going to be suffering something on the other end that, again, takes you out of that long game. So try to approach your workouts with the idea, okay, if I push myself through this, am I going to be able to work out, in 2 days? Am I going to be able to work out next week? Or might this set me back from my consistency and sustainability? And that sounds easy to do, but it takes discipline to not force ourselves through things and to, if our body is saying something and telling us to slow down or stop, to listen to it, to respect it, and to honor it. And it's really important. You want to think long term. So how do you want to feel in 10, 20, or 30 years? Because what you do today affects how you are going to feel then. This is one of the reasons that I stopped competing in kettlebell sport when I did. I competed in the sport of kettlebell lifting for many years in my early to mid 20s. And the reason why I stopped, one of the big reasons big reason I stopped was I burned myself out and was not sustainable with what I was doing. But the other reason was I felt that if I kept going, I was potentially going to negatively affect how I would feel when I was 40, 50, 60. I didn't want to get there and be really hurting because I had just really pushed myself so far beyond what my body wanted me to that I was dealing with the repercussions decades later. So it's important to consider that, especially when you think you want to force your body through something or you want to push through pain. How is that going to affect you in 10, 20, or 30 years? Because injuries, the echo of injuries can last for quite a long time. I know that from myself that I have some things that I injured 5, 8, 10 years ago, and sometimes I feel a little stiffness there. I feel a little pain there. So those injuries can kind of come back to haunt you. So the more you can avoid getting an injury, the better off you're going to feel when you're older. Thinking again said the average person undertrains, not overtrains. You're probably right, thinking again, in that as far as the general population of everybody in the world, there's probably more people who undertrain than overtrain. But if we're talking about people who are in the fitness world and doing exercise, I'm not sure that's true. I think there's many people who overtrain but don't consider it overtraining. I think there's many people who push themselves beyond their limits frequently and are able to get away with it. But over time, it does cause damage and detriment. So I somewhat disagree with you on that. Yep, old Grizz, you're right. Consistency and patience build strength over time. That's the way to go. And the hard thing is if you've never tried that, if somebody has never tried that, then they don't know the wisdom and truth in it. And again, it's a tougher, more disciplined way to go because it's fun to push ourselves. It's fun to challenge our limits. And that, consistency and patience over time is really where the best fruits come from, especially later on in life. And sometimes it takes us beating up our body to know that. Unfortunately, that was the case for me. I hope to help inspire other people to take the slow and steady approach without having to get to the place that I did and having to deal with the repercussions that I did from that push, push, push mentality. The other little quote I have here on mindset, because I don't want anyone to think that I'm saying that if you're at age 40 or beyond, you're not capable of anything, you can't do anything. That is absolutely not what I mean. I think at any age it's important to be sustainable with your routine, and I think you can accomplish many amazing things at age 40 and beyond. I mean, we see athletes that are still in the Olympics beyond age 40, and there's tons of amazing things your body is capable of at any age. You're capable of gaining strength and mobility and changing your body at any age. So I want you to know that I wholeheartedly support being able to accomplish things, and I want to help people do it in a smart way, in a way that allows them to do whatever things that they want to do. So as one of a friend and student, Doug, likes to say he's old but not done. So, regardless of any age, you're not done with life. You're still working at life, and there's lots of things that you can accomplish. Let me know if you guys have any questions about strength, building and maintaining strength at age 40 and beyond. South to West said, I ran my first marathon at age 43. That's awesome. See? You can accomplish anything over age 40. Raven's question, hi, can we just do kettlebell swings as the only exercise lifelong for someone who lacks time due to work? I wouldn't recommend only doing swings. I think you could develop some imbalance over time if that's the only exercise you do, because you're going to emphasize certain muscles and certain patterns but not work others. But I don't know. I don't have any scientific evidence to base that on, because I don't know anybody who's just only trained kettlebell swings and nothing else their whole life. So I don't know how to be sure on that. So it's possible, but you could try it and see how your body feels after a few months. If you feel good and you keep going, great. I generally don't think, just knowing from my body, having done a lot of swings, a lot of cleans, a lot of snatching, like really overdone the hinging pattern, that it wasn't great for me. It caused some issues in my back. So I think that's why I wouldn't recommend it personally. I would say maybe work a few other exercises in there. Maybe do some squats, maybe do some push-ups, do things that also work your arms and your quadriceps a little bit more. Let me know if you guys have other questions here on this topic. So as I mentioned in the beginning, in case you missed it, why do we want to build and maintain strength at age 40 plus? And I think beyond just the obvious ideas of, building muscle, building mobility. Maybe you want to play on the floor with your grandchildren. Maybe you want to be an asset in an emergency situation. Maybe you want to travel solo with confidence. Play golf into your 80s or tennis or whatever sport you play. Maybe you want to explore new outdoor activities. Maybe you want to rack your own luggage. Maybe you want to, wrestle your nephews and win. Maybe you want to just cut a rug at a wedding and feel good. Or you just want to carry in all the groceries at once, which, is everyone's goal. I think those are all really valid reasons to build and maintain your strength. If you care about any or all of those things, then building and maintaining strength in your 40s and beyond is key. You can't afford not to. I love that, old Grizz. Before I begin my workout, I thank my body for getting to the day. That's awesome. Yeah, having gratitude for the fact that we have another day and our body has made it to another day, because many people don't have that privilege, is a great thing to remember. Being grateful for everything our body does for us. Just the fact that it keeps us alive and does all the functions it does without us even realizing. It's kind of mind-blowing to think of all the functions that your body performs on a daily basis that we have no real knowledge of because they just happen automatically. Kind of incredible. If all of that is functioning right, we're very, very lucky. South to West, you said you wanted to challenge yourself for the marathon. Yeah, I had a bucket list goal of a marathon once, and then I ran a half marathon, and I said, I think that's enough. But we'll see. You never know. You guys have any other questions about building and maintaining strength over 40, kettlebell training, or fitness? Let me know in the comments. Appreciate you guys being here with me today. We're going to have another live tomorrow at 4:30 p.m. Pacific time, and I'm going to be talking about how to choose the type, brand, and weight of kettlebell to buy. So if you have questions about kettlebells, you want to know the difference between cast iron and sport kettlebells, then definitely tune in for that. That's going to be tomorrow, Thursday, October 10th at 4:30 p.m. Pacific time. Okay, well, I have a couple questions that when I had done this, I've done this live topic within our Kettlebell Solo community on Facebook. There was a couple questions that I can share with you guys and answer. But before I do that, looks like Southwest, you have a question about abdominal belly fat. Go for it. You're 44, eat really healthy, run a lot and lift, but I still have some belly fat. What are you doing wrong? I don't think you're necessarily doing anything wrong. So one thing I've shared in here before, I'll find this and share it with you again, is an article from Precision Nutrition where they talk about the cost of getting lean. So I think it's normal to have some amount of belly fat. South to West, I don't know if you're male or female. If you're a female, it's very normal and actually pretty crucial to have a certain amount of belly fat in order to have your hormones work properly. For guys, obviously it's a little bit different, but I think there's a level of sacrifice in order to get to a place where you have like zero belly fat. I think if you have not, the first thing I would say, if you have not tracked your food, if you have never tracked your food, I would highly recommend, like if that's a goal for you and you want to lose belly fat, I would highly recommend tracking your food without changing anything. And it's hard to do that, but resist the desire to change anything when you're tracking it, and track it for like 2 weeks. And eat the way you normally would. Don't try to avoid certain things, because that will give you an accurate picture of your nutrition. Because a lot of people say, I eat really healthy, but they don't actually track it, and they're not sure what's actually happening. And if you track it, without changing for a few weeks, you'll get a better idea of like, what is your nutrition really looking like? What's your calories like? What's your breakdown of proteins, fats, and carbs? Because very often it can be easy to kind of sabotage a weight loss effort, you don't even realize you're doing it. Like, you might be snacking on something that ends up putting you way over your calorie count, and that could be coming from like not having enough protein. So you end up kind of snacking on something to try to satiate, but it's something that's very high calorie, and then you end up just always being over your calorie amount. So I think the other thing to consider could be how often you train, how intense you train. Are you training a little too much for your body in this season of life? Because if you are overtraining, and by overtraining, I don't necessarily mean that you're like, you're burned out, but maybe you're just training more, like your stress level overall is higher than your body's able to easily recover from. That can also cause your body to store fat. So if you're not sleeping well and you just have a high level of, say, work stress, and you're putting a lot of exercise stress and your calories are low, and it's all that stress could be hard for your body to be in the right place to lose belly fat. And some people hold on to fat in certain areas. You know, belly fat is a common one that somebody may, you know, oh, I lose fat from my thighs, but I never lose fat from my belly. And that just may be a place that your body stores fat, and you know, that differs from person to person. So the first thing I would recommend is track your food, because you may think that you're eating in a way that isn't accurately reflected by the like macronutrients and the calories. So I would look there first, because you could exercise all day long and it may not change much if your diet isn't where it needs to be. You're welcome. Okay, if anybody else has questions, let me know in the comments. One question that I had gotten on this topic before that I'll share with you guys, might be relevant for some of you. I see strength and cardio fitness as two separate goals. My heart wants to chase a strength goal, but my brain says to change my focus to cardio fitness. My question is, with age, is strength-focused goal a lost cause? As we age, should we strive for fitness over strength? So cardiovascular fitness and building muscle are both important. I think if you're trying to change your body composition, strength training should kind of take a priority, because as you build muscle, it boosts your metabolism, it's easier to lose weight and lose body fat. That being said, cardiovascular fitness is really important for your health, is important for getting your blood flowing and removing stagnation in the body. So both are important. A strength-focused goal is not a lost cause as you get old at all. In fact, it's more important than ever, because as we're, losing muscle mass over time as we age, we need to be doing something to, at the very least, maintain, but hopefully build muscle mass over time. But because with the aging process, we naturally start having a decline in our muscle mass, strength training is even more important to just even maintain that. And so strength training is less about being as strong as you've ever been or lifting the most weight you can. That's really not that important. It's about scaling it relative to where you are at, and to help, again, maintain or progress your strength and your muscle mass over time. So I think both, working your cardiovascular fitness and strength are important, and strength is even more crucial as we get older. Had another question here that was, resistance and strength training build bone density and keeping muscles, which is important, but I get confused when I hear lift heavy. So what is considered lifting heavy for musculoskeletal health later in life? I hear this message from menopause experts. So this is a good one, because I do see a lot of messaging out there that says you gotta lift heavy. If you don't lift heavy, you're not doing anything. If you're only using a 5-pound weight, you're wasting your time. I disagree with this messaging. First of all, what's heavy for somebody is relative. Second of all, there's a lot of benefit to setting a foundation with a light weight. It takes time to build, especially if you've never strength trained before, you're returning to strength training at a later age. You shouldn't just jump in and lift heavy, because that's a recipe for getting injured. What you should do is you should set a foundation with light weights, make sure your form is there, allow your muscles, tendons, ligaments time to adapt before you ever think about lifting heavy. So you have to earn the right to lift heavy. And then what's heavy, this ranges from person to person. But an example I could give is, if you're working on building your strength, like your maximal strength, what you're able to lift, then you want to be working on a program that is somewhere between, 3 to 6 reps. And the weight you use should be heavy enough that you can't do it for like 8, 10, 12 reps. If you could do it for 10, 12 reps, it's not really a weight that's helping you to build strength. And again, this is something that ideally you set a foundation first before you do that type of a strength training program. But what's heavy is, it's relative from person to person. And I do think lifting heavy is important, and I don't think lifting heavy needs to be done all the time. I think you could go through different phases. If you do a 4 to 6 week strength training block where you've built that strength, then give your body a little break and focus on something else. Focus on your mobility, focus on your muscular endurance, focus on kind of more of a middle range of reps and weight. So there's different ways that you can do that. Inside the Kettlebell Solo membership, where I teach classes and programs, we have a year-long program set up that focuses on different things. So we're right now actually in a strength training program where we're working on increasing that weight with lower reps, higher weight, longer rest periods. And then, before that we did a conditioning program. So that was focused more on, moving more quickly with less rest time with a light to moderate weight where you're working on your conditioning. Before that we had a program that was like 5 to 10 minute workout, 5 or 6 days a week. So that was more about just being consistent with little bouts of exercise every day. We had a mobility program. So we focused on different things throughout the year. So you're staying well balanced and you're not just focusing on one thing. And all those things really, support one another. As you improve your mobility, then, you can improve your strength throughout your range of motion. As you improve your conditioning, it gives you a better baseline so you're not as fatigued when you do your strength program, etc. You're welcome, Old Grizz. Thanks for taking the time to watch and chat. Do you guys have any other questions about building and maintaining strength at 40 and beyond, or kettlebell training, strength training? Drop them in the comments. I'd be happy to answer them for you. Before I forget, I'm going to add this precision nutrition article here. South to West, this might be one you're interested in reading if you haven't seen this one. I would highly recommend looking at that. It just talks about what it takes to get to a certain percentage body fat. What are the things you may have to give up? What are the things that you may have to, be more rigid about the leaner that you get? So it's good to know what the trade-offs are so you can have a more realistic idea of what it takes to get lean and what makes the most sense for your life. Because many of us, we want to be healthy and fit, and we also want to enjoy life. We don't want to restrict ourselves so much that we're not able to enjoy special occasions, vacations, treats, chocolate, You're welcome. Yeah, I don't think I want a flat stomach that badly. It's not to say that you can't, maintain, losing some belly fat with, a healthy lifestyle. And again, I would just go track the nutrition. That'll give you a better idea of like, are you accurate with what you think you're doing? And then that could tell you whether, it would be realistic for you to make a change or if it doesn't totally make sense for you. Any other questions? Because that's pretty much all I got for you as far as the presentation. So open any questions for a few more minutes. Otherwise, join me tomorrow, Thursday, October 10th, 4:30 p.m. We're going to talk about types of kettlebells, how to choose the right type, brand, and weight for you, whether you're new and starting out or whether you already have some kettlebells and you're thinking about adding to your collection. All right, well, it looks like we don't have any other questions, so I hope you enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you for joining eMusic. Appreciate it. See you guys soon.